Folks, we are ready for the next run. Let's hype it up for Azure Striker GUNVOLT, run by TempestMask1000. Let's go, buddy.
Heck yeah. Alright, hello friends and fellow gamers, my name is Tempest. For those that also know me, you might know me as Steve. And today I am going to be doing a little something nice for y'all. It's called Azure Striker GUNVOLT. It is a game developed by Integrates. And for those who don't know them, they essentially worked a little bit on some Mega Man stuff. Particularly, they were the developers that helped Capcom make the Mega Man Zero titles. They worked on Mega Man ZX, and there's a bit of an echo? Okay, never mind. Okay, we're all good. Pardon that. Anyway, no, as I was going to say, basically, if you're familiar with Mega Man ZX and ZX Advent, you're already familiar with their work. You've also probably seen them do Mega Man 9, Mega Man 10. Chances are you're already aware of that, and you're probably wondering, well, what did they do after that? They basically made this, and if you're also familiar with No Glitches Allowed, you may recall that I have also done this category before, but the difference here is I'm actually going to be running, instead of on PC, I'm going to be doing the Nintendo Switch version, and I will explain the differences as we go along. MOD, you're more than welcome to join in, my friend, on the fun times. I am absolutely looking forward to having you as my host for this ride. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. For me to do commentary with you, I just want to wait for Tech to tell me they fixed the echo issue. Because while I'm talking, you might still echo, and I wouldn't want that. So,
no problem.
But yeah.
Well, all things considered, we'll just go ahead and get this show on the road.
So
that we don't wait too much longer. Yeah. Indeed. All right. So, with that out of the way, time will begin once I confirm to start this file. After all, this category is new game, good ending, which means I will start on a fresh file, and I will be trying to get the true ending of the game, which is also a bit of an interesting category for a couple of reasons. With that, we'll start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's strike. Alright, so, as I said, Azure Striker GUNVOLT is essentially a spiritual oh wow, look at me already stumble there. A spiritual successor to what Inti Creates did when they made those Mega Man games, particularly the Zero and ZX style stuff. But they decided to take a bit of an interesting, unique twist on the gameplay mechanics, in that while GUNVOLT, our main protagonist, or known as GV for short, has a firearm, which the starting firearm we got is called the Cerberus, it's not the primary form of damage. Repther, GUNVOLT is what's called an adept, which means it's a human being with supernatural powers through energy called Septima. And his ability is called the Azure Striker, which allows him to emit and manipulate electricity like so. And the flash field is the main technique that'll utilize this part about GV himself. So the gun and the bullets that I utilize are actually pins that serve as lightning rods, which zap the electricity and home in right on the enemies to do the real massive damage. But the pins themselves will still deal a little bit of damage, so in the speedrun, a optimal amount of damage will involve a combination of mashing the pins as well as utilizing the flash field to great effect. Now you'll notice as I am using the flash field, there is a little almost semicircular gauge right under GV, and that's his EP gauge, which basically regulates his energy, his ability to use the Azure Striker power. This is important because if it completely goes out, he will enter a cooldown state and I will not be able to use his flash field ability for a while, at least until it completely fills up. Prevasion, though, is another thing that will also come into play with the EP gauge, and that's something that is unique to the new game categories for one reason. Some of you may or may not know that if you've seen this run at Games Done Quick back in, I believe it was 2017, or something like that, oh god, a long time ago from now, the runners, Green Link and Ajarmar, used what was called speedrun mode. That is specific, though, oddly enough, to the PC version on Steam. And we're not quite sure why Indie Creates has yet to make the effort to try and bring this to consoles, as they did successfully do so with the next game, that being GUNVOLT 2. But consoles getting to mainly use the new game categories is not necessarily a bad thing, because in speedrun mode, Pervasion is completely absent. And what that does is, it allows GUNVOLT to take damage without taking actual points off of his health, as long as he's got enough DP in the meter to do so. Now, this is important because this will allow me to phase through enemies and enemy attacks no problem, but it's also only going to happen as long as he's not using... Oops, that was the wrong menu. As long as he's not using the flash field. And so just as long as that's not happening, as well as maybe a couple of other special exceptions, we're basically going to be shaving off a lot of damage. Now, what I just did there in the stage select was I went into a menu called Talk to Jewel. And that's going to come into play with this first stage here, which is the subaquatic base, which is being led by Merrick, who is an adept with the ability to control spatial dimensions by creating portals, which people can walk through, and I think my controller's malfunctioning! Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, so, joke's over, but unfortunately that was not the result that I wanted. So, I had a feeling that was going to happen. It's usually like once every blue moon or something like that, unfortunate to say, but what I was trying to do there was utilize a very special mechanic that's also exclusive to runs that do not use the speedrun mode feature on the PC game, and that is called Anthem. Let's see if it comes up this time. There we go. Come on, Lumen. Stop sassing me for once and just play ball. So that's Lumen right there. She's a cyber diva, which is a, believe it or not, septimal projection, kind of like an astral projection of the girl that we spoke to named Jewel. Essentially, she represents the sort of suppressed side of her personality, if you will. It's kind of sassy, kind of a tease, if you will. But she's also a great singer, and by activating her J-pop, she effectively resurrects us, and now we are completely souped up. See, the reason I did that was because, well, as you saw right there, I had unlimited air jumps and air dashes, and that allowed me to go up to the upper route of the stage, which completely skips out a few sections of GUNVOLT going through some hallways, going through some more portals, and going through other portions of warped space dimension. Had I gotten that within the first try, that would have at least been 45 seconds saved, but unfortunately, as you saw right there, it's RNG. Talking to Jewel raises your chances of it happening, but aside from that, it's never fully guaranteed. So, yeah, not much I could have done about that. It's basically sort of like bomb skip from Mega Man 6 with Blizzard Man stage, if you're familiar with the trick.
So you're saying it's basically a skill issue, but you don't want to admit it.
Oh, shush. There's no way that Lumen would tease me because it was a skill issue. She would never do that, right, Lumen? No? Yes? Maybe? I don't know. She's, like I said, she's kind of sassy. Maybe you're a little on the hill. But anyway, that was an alarm room, and those are basically enemy gauntlets, but with a bit of a twist. You saw that I used a skill called Astrosphere to hit the siren that was below the floor, and by destroying that, the gauntlet immediately ended. And that's a bit of a staple with GUNVOLT. You can basically do that whenever those pop up. But now we've got Merrick, who is the first of the Sumeragi swordsmen, or I guess the Sumeragi 7, I'll sometimes called. Basically, they are the sort of vanguard of the Sumeragi group, which is this mega corporation that essentially is a power company, but way worse. Like, they basically dwarf Japan's government. This is Japan in the future, and they are... It's like Ultra Corporation, if you're familiar with Killer Instinct. They're basically that. And the swordsmen are adepts that utilize these swords to suppress their power, but then can also transform into these powered-up versions of themselves to really wreak havoc. Of course, they're really just trying to use it to stop and take care of us, because we're kind of in Sumeragi's labeling a terrorist group. We're actually a rebel group that's trying to fight against Sumeragi to stop their oppressive behavior and experimentation of adepts illegally. So we are the rebels to their terrorists, and yeah, GUNVOLT himself is actually the experiment of the GUNVOLT project from Sumeragi, so for him, it's definitely personal. He's trying to essentially stop something from basically stopping them from creating something like him again, is what I was trying to say. So, with that said, we now move on to our next adept stage, and it's well worth mentioning that there is no weakness order. So unlike most Mega Man games, this does not have a particular weakness chain. Runners of this game can go whatever order they generally like. Of course, we prefer to take things a little bit particularly within the first half. See, the second stage I'm doing right now is something that I'm choosing for my route. But otherwise, the level that I did just before with Merrick is what most new game runners typically go with to start, because on one hand you're trying to use Anthem to do the section skip, and on the other it's just a pretty consistently simple enough stage to do overall that it then, by this point, gives us the gun that basically dwarfs Cerberus from here on out, called Naga. I just swapped into it, and if you look under my health bar, you'll notice these little circle icons. Those represent my active tags. So whenever I hit a target, you'll start to see them light up and stuff. And, oh, that was an unfortunate miss for the quick kill, so I'm just gonna have to go up and let this thing attack. I'll explain why that was important in just a sec, but yeah, you know, I did get that in practice earlier today. I guess it was just you know, that one of those it can happen situations. Right. So Naga has up to 5 maximum tags, whereas Cerberus had 3. Additionally, GUNVOLT can tag the same target up to 3 times for maximum flash field damage. So no matter what gun I use, I can only get a level 3 tag maximum, and that's unfortunate. So here I'm trying to outrun a global cycle involving a crate, and I just missed it. Oh well. Alright, let's at least go over this one, and I should be fine from here on out. Yeah, GUNVOLTs, like with the Zero games, can have some global cycles sometimes to them. Not all the time, per se. There's still a bit of RNG that is, I think, is not specifically intrinsically tied to the smallest thing that happens within the game itself. If you've seen a Mega Man Zero run and you've seen videos talk about what can activate the change the RNG offset, you'd probably be blown away. But I'll leave it at that. But anyway, well, oh shoot. Okay, this one's gonna be close, not good. Okay, I have to retry that, which is why I hit that retry marker. So we do need to talk about the jewels. The jewels that I'm collecting is very important for this good ending. This is basically the closest category that can ever represent a 100% setting, hence why I submitted it here for Completithon. But effectively, the jewels are going to serve as a story-important item that I will give to Jewel herself. Funny that, a little jewel for a jewel. And to clarify, the character named Jewel is spelled J-U-O-L-E after the electrical unit. I think you all start to get the pun here. So, without any more shocking developments at the moment, we're about to... I couldn't help myself there. We're about to jump into the next of the adept bosses, that being Viper. He is a rather infamous fellow, and the reason for it is his RNG. He is a very aggressive boss, and he will basically do whatever he gosh darn pleases. As you'll see right here, he starts out pretty simple. He's got those slide kicks, he's got those little fire shots, and that's about it to start. But once we get into Phase 2, we'll start to see how he really mixes things up. He's generally known to be one of the hardest mid-game bosses, or general game bosses of the franchise, and the series' writer, Toshiaki Tai, is kind of to blame for this. he likes making challenging stuff for games, so sometimes he likes to step in and do the programming for some of the GV bosses. Another infamous occasion would be GUNVOLT Chronicles Luminous Avenger X with the Falcon known as Stealth. Okay. Oh, jeez, that was close. I am literally sitting on a point of health, so I gotta be very careful here. And hopefully this will work. And yeah, you just saw why Viper is especially infamous. George, if George is seeing this, well, he'll recognize that what I did was essentially micro-stepping, which you normally see that in a bullet hell game. Yeah,
I mean,
funny
that's a
how
bullet
this
hell
game
boss,
is not
right?
It is a bullet hell boss, but this game is not meant to be a bullet hell, so I don't know. Ty is interesting, because if you've seen the GUNVOLT stories, you probably know that there are some rather serious moments within the franchise, kind of like how the Zero games had its fair share of serious story developments. I guess much to the point where it might seem a bit traumatic, but funnily enough, Ty himself is said to be a rather down-to-earth person if you get to know him. This, having heard from the former localization leader of Inti Creates, Matt Papa. Shout out to Matt, by the way. He's always a wonderful fella, and I know he's very much still supporting Inti to this day, even as he's no longer working with the company. Just a really slow guy overall. And oh, come on. And no, there we go. But yeah, no, shout out to him. And if you'd like to check out his Twitch channel, allow me to point you to MegaMats1000. That is the name. And yeah, no, really, like I said, really cool guy. Very, very rad gamer. But with that out of the way, we have now entered Carrera's level. And the theme here is magnetism. So you saw those platforms that I drew out using GUNVOLT's flash field. And there will be another gimmick that involves the magnetism theme. It's rather attractive. Quite literally so. But we won't see it until we get into Section 2. That alarm room there was special because you noticed in the bottom right there was 0 for the enemy counter. And the reason for that was the game just wanted me to destroy the alarm. That was it. So there's nothing I could really do that involved destroying those explosive bots in order to proceed. But now we have the magnets, and by using the flash field, GV will be drawn toward them, and that right there was a very easy jewel to grab. So that's 3 out of 7 in totals gotten or acquired so far. We're looking pretty good. And in case you couldn't tell, all of the jewels are found within the additive stages, but then you're probably wondering, Tempest, there's only 6 Sumeragi addives within the stage select, right? Well, see, that's the funny thing. We are in the 3rd stage, and after this, we're going to jump into the mid-game. If you're familiar with the Mega Man Zero levels, you might be aware of the idea that after you've beaten some of the overall levels, the game starts to throw a bit of a curveball your way, and you have to do a mandatory stage in order to proceed forward with the rest of the game. That's basically what we're going to be jumping into after this. Coming up is going to be the Carrera boss fight, and one thing I love about Inti Creates is that when they create GUNVOLT bosses, they usually come up with at least 3 design themes for the characters in question. The first is the name, the second is usually the design, and then there's the group theme associated with all the bosses. Essentially, the theme of all the bosses revolves around the 7 deadly sins. Merrick was sloth, Viper was wrath, or rage, or anger, or whatever the proper word is called, and Carrera here is greed. But aside from that, there's a bit more to discuss about the theming that I'll go into later.
So you mean to say that this boss wants it all and he wants it now?
Sure. Too bad he sees himself more as a king rather than a queen.
Ah, shucks.
Alright, give me a second right here. I'm going to play this a little safe here. I was supposed to use the Astrosphere to damage him, but I feel like trying it here, so let's go ahead. And so that special move was actually supposed to involve instant kill damage for GUNVOLT. So if you get caught by the explosion, there is no saving. You're sorry, but you're basically screwed. But the good news is that when I use the Astrosphere, it grants GV some invincibility frames. So what I was supposed to do, instead of turning tail as I did there, was just use it just not too close, but like almost before the explosion actually happens. But I'll get to try that again soon. For now, we have defeated 3 of the adepts, and now we have to move into Sinner's Row. So, GUNVOLT used to work for an organization called Quill, the Quorum of Unlimited Information, Law, and Liberty. And although after the first mission he's no longer associated with them, as a freelance agent, Quill's missions still tend to pay him well, so the story goes on to mention that he's done quite a lot of missions for them regardless. It's just that he's trying to basically make a life for himself, be a guardian to Jewel, because the whole idea behind that mission on the Sumeragi train was Jewel, they didn't know this at the time, but with Jewel being the host to the Muse power, the Muse Septima, Lumen songs were being used to locate adepts from... Oh gosh, that was a bit close right there. Lumen songs were being used to essentially be a radar to detect adepts from within the public. And Sumeragi, like I said, they've technically had a bit of an iron grip on the adept population, so Quill, originally assuming that she was just a program meant to delete her. Of course, upon finding out that it's actually a little girl that's responsible for the mess, GUNVOLT's boss, Asimov, originally told him to take her out. By the way, say hi to Zonda and then bye to Zonda, a rather flamboyant fella. Unfortunately, that'll also be the last time we see them, so... yeah. But if you'd like to see more of Zonda, play GUNVOLT 2. Or even Mighty GUNVOLT. Zonda also appears in that game as well, admittedly. Okay, so I missed that cycle for that platform, but we'll come back in just a second and go. But yeah, GUNVOLT not wanting to kill Jewel, and seeing this as sort of a reflection on the same sort of situation as to when he got rescued from the Sumeragi lab. He wants to take care of her, so he defects from Quill, well, with official leave, not like he just breaks out of them, not like Axel from Red Alert and Mega Man X7. And yeah, that's when he becomes the freelance agent. But the overall mission here is that our friend Zeno is... I pronounce it that way because it's the game says Zeno, but his Japanese name is supposed to be Gino because he's supposed to be Italian. Zeno is supposed to take out Zonda here, but got cornered and injured pretty badly, so he's out of commission, and we got to take on the mission for him. So we're effectively giving chase. And as you saw right there, I was basically going through a series of doors that I know the full-on pattern to, but if you're a casual player, you have to guess that stuff. And going through the wrong door throws you into a automatic gauntlet. And then there was the section that turned GUNVOLT upside down. Luckily, your controls are not inverted, but any down inputs become up inputs. So basically, that just affects recharging your EP. But now we get to the boss this level. This is Copen, GUNVOLT's rival, who already killed Zonda. We had to skip that cutscene. But he's a bit more of a Mega Man character than we are, in that he's a non-adept, but utilizes a special series of weaponry that can copy their Septima power after they've been killed. Or not always being killed, but generally so. He's been stealing the Septima of the bosses we've defeated so far, and so what moves he decides to use for this fight are going to be random, but he's giving me a fantastic pattern. This is actually what I've wanted to see, and this is going to be a really good fight, so let's go. We'd love to see it. The problem with completing Merrick's stage is that because he gets to use Lazy Laser as a result of it, it's the longest move that he can use, and he's completely protected from the front. So, luckily the Naga also has an extra firing property, where if I hold the shoot button, it'll charge, and then I get to fire a dart that pierces through defenses and walls. Unfortunately, it only tags once, so it's pretty slow to utilize, but yeah. Otherwise, the reason I went to Viper is because his move is the fastest from what I've seen, and also not that hard to dodge. And Carrera, similar to Viper, it's just as fast, but also leaves him pretty wide open. The problem with Greed Snatcher, which is the name of the move, is if any of those purple bullets hit Gunvolt, I would have been locked into a cooldown state for a long amount of time, at least 30 seconds. Not my official count, not the official value that I know, but it generally feels that way, and you never want to be put in that situation, especially in a speedrun. But yeah, we are now into the second half, the remaining half of the Adepts. I'm going to collect this jewel right here, and we've almost collected all 7 of them. The interesting thing to note about the version of Gunvolt that I'm playing as compared to when I ran this for no GA is the PC version and the 3DS version share they're essentially the same version. But the Azure Striker Gunvolt Striker Pack for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and the standalone versions for Xbox One, they're a little different. That's not quite how I wanted to handle that boss. Oops. Okay, let's try that again. Okay. Let's go for an Astrosphere. And that should put me at the bottom of the ground if I executed that just right. Okay, not quite, but close enough. You notice that those vine platforms crumble away when exposed to my flash field, and that's what I was essentially trying to do with the Eidolon flower right there. Not too bad, though. I got pretty quickly to the door just as it opened, so yeah, it could have been worse. Alright, so as we move into the second half of the stage, I was mentioning that the console version, the home console version of Gunvolt 1, features some minor stage design differences. You saw this earlier too in Merrick's level, where the last little platform during that climb up with the flooding water, it tries to block you off, and you gotta do a bit of a dash jump to get over it. And so there's also like a little bit of spikes as well. But in the console version, they just don't have it. They basically made it a little easier to clear. Also, in Sinner's Row, in that little stage portion where you saw me get the gem, the jewel, normally there's not a floor under there, it's a bottomless pit. And bottomless pits in Gunvolt are bad because you will not anthem from that at all. So if you die from a pit, expect to respawn no matter what. From the checkpoint, that is. So, because of this, the leaderboard of the game separates all the consoles, but 3DS and PC share a leaderboard because the PC version was very closely resembling the 3DS version at first, and we decided to sort of keep it that way. As such, the biggest difference is that timing is done via IGT, but for consoles, it's RTA. But now that I've effectively overloaded your mind with speedrun nonsense, let's go ahead into the Stratos boss fight. And you've noticed these bugs, that's essentially his power. He is commanding these carnivorous bugs that like to eat away at things, and that's never fun. I'd much rather take bug snacks over those pesky flies. Alright, let's see if this works. I'm doing a little bit of setup to potentially skip. Okay, I don't think that's going to work, sadly. Okay, so if I had done the damage just right as he landed before teleporting away, I could have avoided that special move, Cut-In. And he is one of a few bosses within this game that you can do that for. There are not a lot of opportunities in this, and it only really just saves a little bit of time. It's not the worst thing in the world. but the desperation move, Nemesis Fang, you don't want him to use that. You saw him charge up a little bit, and you can stop him from doing so by destroying one of those little floating mouth thingies. If he gets the chance to finish it, though, he will do a screen-covering attack that will instantly kill you. So, definitely do not let him get away. Alright, now for Jota's stage. This is the U2 Media Tower. That's UTU. I'm pretty sure that's how it's pronounced. I think it's U2 or something like that. But the idea is that Lumen's songs are being broadcast here, and so GUNVOLT is now doing a mission to essentially shut it all down. And fun fact, if you're familiar with the late game stages in Azure Striker GUNVOLT 3, this locale is actually the centerpiece of it. This is the tower that gets used, but also like sort of molded and manipulated by that enemy faction into their base, which is really cool of a callback to do. Like, I'm pretty blown away by that when I first saw that. So this stage is nice because for those that might have played the demo on the 3DS, you may recall this was one of the 2 Sumeragi Adept levels that you could do. Funnily enough, the other one was Vipers. So, what a way to challenge folks that way, huh? But yeah. It's to be said that GUNVOLT did originally launch for the 3DS in 2014, which is very unfortunate because, as some of you may know, the eShop has been down for quite a while now, no longer accepting new purchases, so rest in peace. But luckily, if you do want to play this on your 3DS, if you manage to find a Striker Pack cartridge for the handheld, then there you go. I don't necessarily know if it shares the same level design changes as the Switch and home console versions, but I do know that the Striker Pack originated on the 3DS, with a little bit of help from, believe it or not, Yacht Club Games, the folks behind Shovel Knight. So as a way of saying their thanks, Inti Creates threw in an extra Shovel Knight boss fight that you can do with the official Shovel Knight amiibo on Azure Striker GUNVOLT 2. And it's a really cool fight. It's a little simple, like very simple, but it's just a really nice nod, for sure, with a pretty rad remix of the title theme. Alright, here's Jota. He's a very RNG-heavy boss. I'm going to start to worry about said RNG, though, once we get to Phase 2. He hasn't shown off this attack yet, but yeah, here he is going to do it right now. He's spreading out these laser bits, and they've all fired at once. But starting now, there's a good chance that they will fire one by one, and that wastes the most time, so I don't want to see that at all. Let's see how it all plays out, though, because you're also starting to see that my flash field is driving away some of these drill attacks from him as well. Which, pay attention, because that may come into handy with his special move. Something you don't have to do to avoid it in the speedrun, but yeah. Alright, here we go. Phosphoratorium, also known as Zero Blade. Ah, okay. I was supposed to jump over him right after the little tear in reality subsided. You essentially push him back with your bullets, but you're eventually supposed to jump over it. Not a bad fight, though. And a quick shout out to Lancer in the chat, as Lancer just mentioned, yeah, this confirms that the 3DS Striker Pack is identical to the 3DS versions of GUNVOLTs 1 and 2, meaning that the level design changes started with the Switch version. One nice thing about the Striker Pack version, though, is that with GUNVOLT 2, you'll gain all of the DLC without having to pay an extra dime. Yeah, funny how DLC with the franchise started with the second game, but only for the 3DS version. PC version has all the DLC rolled into it as well. And the reason for that is that version did not come until way after the Switch Striker Pack. Like at least 2 years worth. So, one last ad to go, and that is going to be a rather infamous one. This being a adept called Elise. We'll talk about her fight once we get there, but we just had a little pseudo section, a little short section of Gunvolt going through this warehouse and eventually finding this here secret laboratory that we're now infiltrating. And the gimmick behind this stage involves turning on the lights, but with these colored panels, and as you'll notice, whatever panels I activate will turn on that colored light, which will then disable the laser gates. So once I hit a green panel, that'll be coming up. Once my EP is back, there we go. That will disable all the lasers and allow me to pass on through. We got another alarm room coming up, and then after that is going to be the hexapile, those little cyber gates that I have to destroy in order to make it to the next section of the level. And then we're going to have a few more light panels to light up. One thing you're going to see me do right here is fire a couple of bullets, and the reason that they hit the hexapile is that with the camera officially making its way to the left, the bullets did not hit the screen limit, so the game thought that they were still active. And so I could basically sneak in that little trick right there. It's not mandatory, but it's a nice little thing to do and can potentially save you maybe just a teensy bit of time. But now I'm going to start mixing colors because we're going to start to see multiple colored lasers, and so you're going to see it right here. Also, those zombie enemies are rather notorious because if one grabs you, you are forced into an instant cooldown, so don't let them do that. Another alarm room coming right up. You're going to see me briefly hit, if all goes well anyway, 1,000 kudos, which, let's quickly talk about the kudos counter. That's the number gauge that's been appearing under my health bar whenever I've been doing enemy destructions, you know, taking down enemies, dealing damage to them and stuff. It's mainly used for score purposes. I didn't quite get it that time, but whenever you hit 1,000 kudos, J-pop will start to play, and it's pretty rad. Of course, this is different from the Anthem theme. The game has a lot of vocal tracks that was done by Megu Sakugawa, the Japanese voice actress for Lumen, who is a great singer in her own right. But also shout out to Lumen's English BA, that being Diana Garnett. They are also a singer who, if you recognize their voice, they did one of the closing themes for Naruto Shippuden, as well as having credits on quite a few other things, being a voice actor in general. Even a role in, I believe it was episode 9 of Bee and Puppy Cat, an animation that I still need to check out because I know I've heard nothing but great things about. And now we're finally into the Elise fight. So this one's going to be a bit of a doozy. Why is that? You're seeing double right now, and each of them have health bars. You can probably imagine the objective of this fight. If not, allow me to explain. I have to take out both of them at the same time, otherwise, if given the chance, one will resurrect the other. That is their power, to resurrect things. Whoop. Oh, that was especially bad. That is my least favorite move of them. You could call that their special move. It doesn't feature a cut-in, the resurrection does, but that might as well be it, because that's Gorgon's gaze, and you notice the little arrowheads within the beam of light? If I stared into it, you saw me get petrified there, and that also forces an instant cooldown. It's just... it is just not fun, and GUNVOLT takes a lot of damage if they catch you that way. But luckily, there was no resurrections, so that was a very good fight. And now, with them overall donezo, we now move on to the late game stages.
We have time for a quick message.
I'm gonna skip. Oh yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say, as we're moving into, as I'm skipping through the cutscenes, let's hear some stuff, MOD.
Wonderful. So, Twitch chat, do you or anyone you know want to get involved with Somos Familia Valle, our charity? You can go directly to their website, somosfamiliavalle.org. You can see that spelled out next to our donation amount. And you can see all that they have to offer. You can directly sign up to become a member of Somos Familia Valle for free in order to get updates on activities and events that the community hosts. Somos Familia Valle also hosts free LGBTQ plus youth programs, both in person and virtually, so that youths ages 12 to 17 who are LGBTQ plus, immigrant, people of color, and their allies can have a space to make new friends and discuss the issues and ideas that matter to them. The group also learns about mental health, diversity, inclusion, the power of community, advocacy, organizing, and social justice to help youths create change together. And if you want to know how to donate, you just need to type !donate in chat, or if you are on PC, click the donate button below the stream. Then you're getting to our Twitterify page. There you can donate, put your money towards one of our incentives or bid wars. And yeah, that way you can, one, help out a great charity, and two, mold the next speedruns in your favor. Like the Fez speedrun, that is the game after the next. You can exchange the sprites for Sonic sprites if you want to. We still need $94 for that. I know it's a large amount, but I'm sure we can make it. So please, Twitch chat, get your donations in. It's for a wonderful cause, and don't forget to allocate that money to our incentives.
That's actually really cool. I didn't know you could do that. I imagine it's by a potential mod within the PC version, or if it's official, I don't know which, but I'm all for that. I want to personally see that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, we have some other really cool incentives along the line for sure, so folks, be sure to get them in. I gotta say, after having learned a little bit about the charity, I'm not gonna try and pronounce it because I, of course, am not that much of a good Spanish speaker, despite having studied it back in school and whatnot. But I don't want to butcher it. So I'm just gonna say that after having learned about the charity a bit, I definitely am all for giving it as much support as we can possibly get. So,
yeah, absolutely.
If we can reach like a really high amount by the end of this event, you're gonna make me real happy, y'all. Trust me, they're doing some great work out there, and what can I say? Support LGBTQ. It's the way to be.
Yes.
Their rights are human rights.
Absolutely.
Alright, so this is my personal favorite stage of the run. This is of the Sumeragi stages, the Nova stages, if you will. And earlier, we had what is probably the shortest late-game stage within any of the GUNVOLT games, really. Because all I had to do was dodge some lasers and take out this thing. So, you might recognize these bosses from the intro stage. Those are called Mantis tanks, and they were green, my favorite color, well, fittingly enough. But here they're red, and you can tell they've also got a few new tricks up their sleeves. Earlier I fought one. Oh gosh, I was taking a daredevil chance on that jump, by the way. But for here I have to face three. Obviously this is a nod to Mega Man Zero 2's intro stage, where the game throws 2 lightning golems your way to take on before you face the actual boss. But this is probably a step too much. I feel like they could have easily maybe thrown in, I don't know, a different kind of robot maybe? But they work the same way as the previous Mantis tanks did, and yeah, not really much to say except take out the head, it exposes the vent core, take it out with an astrosphere, and we're moving on. And also, I gotta make a quick mention to the tailwind. You want to be jumping as much as possible when it's behind GUNVOLT's back, because it gives you a lot of speed. But now that it's back against us, I want to be a little more careful of that, because we're mighty Merrick again. We've officially entered the boss rush territory, because it wouldn't be a Mega Man-like game without him. The interesting thing is that, like with Mega Man 1 and Mega Man X1, they go along the way. So the fact that I'm fighting Merrick now means that I won't have to face him again later. Kind of like how Cutman and Electman were fought in Wily 2 in Mega Man 1. So the battlefield also has spikes at the edge, but if this was the PC or 3DS version, those would be bottomless pits. So they're much dangerous, like much more dangerous in those versions as well. And I shouldn't have set myself up there. Whoops. Let's just try to take care of him though. Okay, I'm looking a little low on health. One nice feature of the GUNVOLT games though is that you've noticed these level up prompts going on, and yes, GUNVOLT is gaining experience as he takes on stuff and destroys things. And you're probably going to see it. Okay, good. It didn't actually show up there. That's actually good because I wanted to save a level up for the next stage. So, thank goodness on that. But whenever he does level up, his HP not only gains a little bit of a buffed up maximum, but on top of that, he also gets a full heal right away, so that's especially helpful, as one can imagine. Just because things have been a little bit of a bully to me, though, in some cases with this run, I'm actually going to go ahead and, before we jump into the third Nova stage, I'm going to customize my layout really quick and add in a skill that I got within a particular level. This is Galvanic Patch, and if you are pretty confident in your run, you really don't have to use this. The only reason I am is because, just in case things go awry, with this being a good ending run and all, I'll at least be able to use a skill points to heal myself, because unlike the EP gauge with the flash field, skills use SP, which the meter for that is in the bottom left corner. So it's not like healing myself or using Astrosphere takes away from my EP, which is extra nice, and is also why I try to use Astrosphere when Carrera is using his special mode. Alright, here we go. Now, I'm going to try and do the Desperation move cut and skip once again, only this time we've got a new gun. Oops, I don't need to do that. Yeah, so back in the 3DS version, there was pausing to change your gun. Although I think if you had like the new 3DS, you could use the ZL/ZR buttons to automatically change them, just like how I'm doing now on the Switch version. So I've switched to the Orochi gun, and this has the best amount of tags, a whopping 8. Unfortunately, that did not quite work as intended, so I'm not even going to bother with that one. I'm going to try and do this just a little differently. That was very interesting. That actually went rather nicely. Oh, this could be good too, because, yeah, you'll also see that there was a little drone floating up top, and it was doing a half spread shot, either from the top or bottom. I can't remember what exactly causes that, but yeah. So there's the level up right there, and I get the full heal after this Stratos fight. I think preferably having it for the Viper fight, which is 2 fights from now, would have been a little bit more desirable. But here we got Jota, so he's back. Again, RNG, heavy boss, just gotta hope for the best. While I also try to deal damage to him as quickly as possible. But, yeah, second verse, same as the first, so, I don't know. MOD, anything you want to add in right now?
Well, I can remind people that they are watching Completithon, which is a charity event dedicated to completionist speedruns. This includes 100% all collectibles, or even categories where you collect all of a specific collectibles, such as all berries, or all shrines, or all jewels, like in this game, just to name a few. If you're interested in getting involved or finding out more, make sure to join our Discord and follow us on Twitter to get updates about future events.
Absolutely. And I just want to say, as someone that's been helping out NoGA and Completithon for quite a few years now, I definitely want to just mention that this community is one that I heckin' appreciate and then some. I've met a lot of friends within the speedrun community through here, MOD included, and I just really dig the events that we put on. It's always nice. And so I definitely want to say that if you all want to get in on the action yourselves, please be on the lookout for No Holidays Allowed, which will be our late in the year event, which will be, of course, after this one. But for now, yes, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you also for supporting our wonderful charity. Actually, this is kind of neat too, because I'm pretty sure this is the first time Completithon has directly supported a charity. I think any proceeds we may have gotten from other means prior might have been to our usual charity, that being Go Rescue. But yeah, no, this is like the first time I've seen Completithon do, like, turn itself into a full-fledged charity event, and I gotta say I'm all for it. So, you're all doing a great job, and let's keep doing such a great job. And now I gotta hopefully do a great job against Viper here, because he's back, just as aggressive. And the worst part about this level is that despite having these 3 convenient boss fights one after the next, if I die, I have to do it all the way from the beginning. And that's not gonna speedrun at all. Basically, kiss your PV goodbye if this happens to you. And I won't fault you for it at all. In fact, I'll feel nothing but just regret for y'all. Like, trust me, this game can be pretty skill testing, and I mean, that's actually kind of the fun behind it too. Inti Creates definitely wanted to give that same sort of feeling that the Zero games had, and in my honest opinion, they did a fantastic job in doing so. They very much succeeded, and they've made a great series of games that just have this nice sense of combat, and also just rewards speed, as well as scorekeeping, because there's also a little rewarding aspect of score attacking behind this as well. You might have noticed that within the results screen, it keeps in mind your best time and best score separately from each other, so yeah, there's definitely a little something for everyone, and I do want to say shout out to score attackers in general. In fact, a good friend of mine from the GUNVOLT community in my Kenyan himself is a score attacker, and also just as much of a person that loves the knowledge and lore of GUNVOLT as much as I do. So yeah, just a great fellow overall. Oh no, oh, unfortunate. So that right there is a resurrection. That was the kind that I wanted to avoid. So I'm going to be a little bit careful here, because funnily enough, I did want a resurrection going on, just not that one. Ah, dang it, no. Okay. Well, at least that wasn't as bad, because yeah, as you can see, the other personality is still present, so as long as I can salvage this. Okay, there we go. See, it's not as bad if you accidentally kill one of them as long as they're in the middle of an attack, because they don't cause the resurrection to happen until the attack is finished and they're basically in resting position. But now that I've gotten the mandatory resurrection in there, I'm going to switch to Orochi and go full ham on them. The funny thing about the 2 different personalities that I can damage is that the shy one is tankier, whereas the more suggestive one, I guess you could say, deals more attack. Oh, okay, that was a little unfortunate. Just when I had it solved right then and there, too. Alright, we're going to try this one more time. So, all I needed to do was just finish the both of them one last time, and then the game would have proceeded onward. I only had to destroy the vulnerable targets. I only had to take down the targets that I could hurt, because you're seeing a third personality of Elise here. I can't hurt that one at all. There's nothing I can do to that one. And that's quite unfortunate, because you're also seeing her play interference. And that's never fun. So, you know, it is what it is, but for now, here we go. Maybe this time. Okay. I'm gonna try maybe for an Astro Sphere. No, maybe a few more pegs. Please. There we go. Okay, that's one. While this is going on, what are your thoughts of the gameplay so far, MOD?
I mean, I've seen the game run before, I think I even saw your run for Noga. I'm not even sure right now.
You probably did.
Yeah, I did see the game before, and it looks really good. Haven't picked it up because I suck at the Mega Man games, so no. But
hey man, let me tell you,
it really looks
nothing wrong with trying this casually.
It really looks fun.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, despite the level skill that might come into playing this, trust me when I say there's no harm in playing this at a more beginner level. You don't have to be doing the speed run like I like to do. Indie Creates tries to fully account for like all different types of play. In fact, GUNVOLT 1 on the PC and home console versions also has an easy and a hard mode as well, so you know, there's a little bit of variety there. And then Prevasion itself was also meant to sort of account for any players that might not be as experienced with a Mega Man-like game.
So here's the thing, I am experienced in the Mega Man games. I don't think I ever beat any of them. Because I just suck at the boss fights. But yeah, I mean, they're fun. They're fun to play, but the bosses are annoying. So...
Oh, man. I got a little panicky over with the Copen refight here, which, yeah, he's back. He's got his hood off now, so he's got his Sasuke Uchiha-like hair showing. And more importantly, he's got all of the adept powers this time, so it's not just 3, it's 7. And you're probably wondering, wait, what was Zonda's power like? That's the special move. That'll be coming up. Alright, so just gonna give myself a little bit of serious time right here.
At least you just have to do him again, and not the fight before that.
Oh yeah, no. They were a lot more generous at this point. But there's still quite a bit more fighting to do after this. We're still going to be here for a little while, for better and for worse. Trust me when I say that the late game had some pretty fun stuff and all that, but with the next stage, which would also normally be the final stage if this was a any percent run, things are going to be a little bit more interesting, because I'm going to have to play that twice in order to get the good ending. See, the late plot of the game involves Jewel having been kidnapped by Sumeragi, so now she's within their grasp, and her power of the Muse is going to be used for their Project Diva plan to come into fruition. And so their leader, Nova Tsukiyomi, is essentially going to do general bad guy stuff. We're trying to put a stop to that, but Copen here is not necessarily working for them. See, he's fueled on a bit of a self-revenge quest. His father, Dr. Kamizono, used to work for Sumeragi, but upon having discovered the potential concerns for adepts and the danger that they might pose to humanity, he tried to rebel, only to have been silenced by a Sumeragi adept. Fun fact, that was actually a young Asimov, GUNVOLT's boss. And yeah, that kind of becomes a little sadly ironic for Copen. But ever since that incident, Copen has hated adepts and has made it his mission to essentially become judge, jury, and executioner. And so, he's not a believer in God, he's a man of science, but in his early appearances he mentions that I will not be your true judge, God will, or something like that. He's a bit edgy, he's a bit of a tryhard when you think about it, but over later games he becomes quite a bit more likable, especially in the X games where they're all focused on him. So, yeah, he becomes a playable character, in fact, in GUNVOLT 2, and yeah, he's a bit of a fan favorite with that sort of gameplay. Check out his runs yourself of Copen, and you'll see why. It's become pretty influential, to say the least. So after that gauntlet room, and that is the final gauntlet room of the game. We'll have to go back through that soon, but still, we're going to now confront Nova, and this boss fight is a little interesting. He's special in that you saw bosses get a little bit of iframes after their first 2 health bar portions break. Nova does not. However, because he's utilizing the mute power for himself, he's creating this shield that if I hit it just like that, it causes those little psychic energy spikes to try and come after me, and they do home in on GUNVOLT's position as well, so they're pretty annoying, to say the least. I've been saying that phrase a lot, what the heck. But to deal damage to Nova, I have to zap Lumen, which drops his shield and then allows me to get him like so. He's also vulnerable to Astrosphere. He's going to use his desperation move, Mind Melter there. Technically, if you play your cards just right, you can avoid that, kind of like Stratos. But now we move into the giant boss fight, where he's essentially become like this big Asura-like thing. And as you're seeing me do right now, I'm targeting those 2 satellite drones he's got, because if I'm not zapping those, I can't hit his core. I have to be zapping both of them in order for that shield to drop, and then target that. This can be a little tedious, especially with that move where you saw the white one, the black one disappeared for a little bit, and the white one was blowing GUNVOLT back with a stream of wind. Yeah, that can be a pretty annoying move when you want a little bit of better RNG over. Oh yeah, and the fighting arena has bottomless pits. I do not want to fall at all, because remember, if that happens, Anthem can't save me, and I have to do phase 1 all over again, which isn't particularly bad on the first go-around, but it can be very time loss incarnate, per se. So I think it's suffice to say I am glad that I had Patch along for the ride there, because now he's finished, but I got a bit of a results screen to go through because we also had to skip the bad ending now. Good news, we have what it takes to get to the good ending. You're probably wondering why that is. Well, because Jewel got kidnapped, I can't actually talk to her via that menu. And in order to give her the jewels, she has to be present. So the game, no matter what, will always force you to complete the game and experience the bad ending first, in order to then give her those jewels, and then talk to her once more to get a jewel necklace, which will then be what we have to wear, and then play that Nova stage once again in order to get to the final stage. That might have sounded like a mouthful, and trust me, it is. But now for the most important part, I had to save right there, and I needed to remember what button does what, because sometimes the control scheme on the Switch can vary a little from computer stuff, and if I backed out of that menu, that would have killed the run. That most certainly would have killed the run. But yeah, no, that was not time. I could have joked about it, but I decided not to. So I've given Jewel all the 7 gems. You don't have to speak with her 7 times. Thank goodness. You just give it all the ones that you had previously. They're just given to her straight up. So now I have to give her the handmade necklace. The broken necklace, that's what happens when you get the good ending for the first time, and it gets added to your inventory for new files from there on out. But the leaderboard prohibits the use of that, because while it does allow you to get to the true ending, because we need to access the good ending by legitimate means, via new game means, the leaderboard wants you to use the jewel necklace. Now, only one problem. Because I had to equip that to GUNVOLT before entering the stage, that means I have to do the entire stage without Prevasion. The pendant section, depending on what gear you're wearing, may or may not limit your use of Prevasion. And, as you can probably imagine, it's going to make fighting Nova a little bit trickier. And you're probably thinking, wait, I've played GUNVOLT before, can't you change gear from the pause menu? Yes, you can, but then the game is also kind of smart in that it tries to detect whether or not you've had that necklace from beginning to end. I'm pretty sure there was one instance, though, where I was able to make it think that I had the necklace on by the time that I beat Nova and then put it on or something like that. We'll have to reconsult some gameplay that I once recorded of this, but trust me on that. But depending on how this refight goes, there is a very good chance we might go just a little over the estimate. So I do apologize for that, but let's see how this happens. Like I said, he is not going to get any iframes from when he loses his health bars. I do have Galvanic Patch on me if worst comes to worst. And hopefully, too, I will level up after this first phase. That is all that I can really ask for right now. Oh, I think that was a bad time to use Astrosphere. Let's see if it still hits him. Oh wow, that actually did a nice amount of damage right there for sure. Okay, wow, he still used Mind Melter just as he was on the verge of death. And no level up. That's kind of bad. So now I have to play this very carefully. I'm going to be demanding serious time throughout this fight. That move, by the way, is not easy to dodge. At all. Alright, 1 second. Almost done. Oh, jeez. This could be close. By the way, again, that's not time. It's not going to be time after I finish Nova. We still got one more stage after this. Alright, come on. Oh yeah, this is definitely tense. Oh! Dang, so close. Alright, let's try that one more time. 1 second, now you off. Next time. Yeah. I just had to say goodbye to my friend who was supporting me from the background. Alright. Back door, by the way, alright? Alright, so... let's see here. Yeah, we're probably gonna be... This is probably gonna take just a little bit more time. And it's unfortunate because if it wasn't for that, I certainly would have been saving just a bit more, but alas. I will leave it up to the producers. If we might need to mercy kill this, I am not against that possibility, but I do believe that I should be able to handle it just fine, because once I defeat him this time around, that will level me up. So I will be at full health, and I will have a lot more safety with the second go-around.
I mean, we are a bit ahead of schedule, so we should be fine.
Yeah, I imagine it won't be that problematic. Okay, there we go. Whoo! My lord. Let's try that again. Okay, so... one more time. Now, because I've got full health at this point, I think we can at least pass it on over for some announcements or any messages if need be.
Okay, I do want to remind everyone that we still have that Faz Sonic Sprite replacement incentive going on. We are still sitting at $56 out of 150 needed for that to be met, and Faz is the game after the next, so we do not have much time to meet that. So please, chat, if you can give any amount of money, even if it's just $1 or $2, please consider donating towards a really good cause and putting that money towards that incentive so that we will get this met, because I want to see a puzzler like Fez with Sonic sprites, and I'm pretty sure everyone else wants to see that. So please get your donations in, ! donate in chat for the link. And yeah, please be generous.
It's over. It's over. Again, my sincerest apologies for the late fight flub there. A little unfortunate, but hey, we are finally through with that stage, and it's now on to the true last level of the game. So, to catch us up with the plot, we have officially killed Nova, who has relinquished Jewel, or rather Lumen saved Jewel before being caught in what would have been otherwise a rather ungraceful explosion. However, Asimov was also making his way up the orbital elevator as well, following Gunvolt. Unfortunately, we also kind of learned that he kind of has his own plan in mind, where he wants to make a world that's a utopia for adepts, and the non-adept population effectively gets wiped out. Gunvolt is obviously not all for that. Grateful as he may be for the fact that Asimov was a mentor and father figure to him, he opposes him, but unfortunately Asimov kind of fought Copen off screen and stole his gun. And yes, that's officially canon. There's actually a side story audio drama that covers that, whereas this game does not. Unfortunately, because Asimov knew that the Greed Snatcher shot could nullify Adept's powers as they do, he kind of killed Gunvolt and Jewel, but luckily Jewel and Lumen have officially merged into one. And by doing so, they then used the last of their power to become sort of combined with Gunvolt, effectively saving his life as well. Well, along with the... Oh my god, I actually survived that attack. Along with the Jewel necklace, which now becomes the broken necklace. But yeah, the necklace stopped the bullet. Anime, folks. So, yeah. Unfortunately, Jewel is dead, but she is now powering up Gunvolt into this max power Anthem state that you're seeing right here. So once again, unlimited air jumps, unlimited air dashes, but you also might have noticed we can still take damage while in Anthem. So yeah, gotta be a little careful of that, especially considering that Asimov himself is an Azure Striker. And wouldn't you know it, Prevasion does not work with Azure Striker techniques. So, of course, the final boss is going to be Asimov, and time will be once his HP reaches 0. But the overall fight involves him using Azure Striker moves, while also utilizing the Order Gun from Copen to use the Greed Snatcher shot. And when he starts to use his Flash Field, I want to counter it with my own, because then it will effectively break his, make him vulnerable to my tagging, and then I continue to zap him like so. If I do so the other way around, he will use Prevasion himself. Just like that, yeah. Oh, dang it. Okay, so I got hit by a shot. And unfortunately, yeah, that again puts us in that very long cooldown state. Okay, that's not really going to do me anything, but it will allow me to at least avoid him. So let's try and do that again. The nice thing about this fight is you see the Greed Snatcher shot being used in a variety of ways, much like how Gunvolt has his different guns, which I've been getting those, I forgot to mention, I've been getting those every even number of stages completed. And yes, the Vasuki gun was something I got from achieving the bad ending for the first time. Yeah, that also happens in Gunvolt too, by the way. Okay, so now Asimov is going to utilize his own Desperation move. This is going to be one of the special skills that Gunvolt himself can learn, but it's at a much later level in the game that it never really gets utilized in the speedrun. That was Voltaic Chains, and you saw me try to basically mash the air jump to get away from that, because if that hits me, it's insta-death. Sadly, I gotta get locked down by one more Greed Snatcher shot right there, so that means I'm gonna need to wait just a little bit more. But, oh, Fred, hang on. Okay, come on, I'm not giving up here. Alright, time should be coming up very soon. Time!
EG.
All right. Oh man, that was certainly tense. Whew. Well, that, my friends, is a completed GUNVOLT run. All the jewels have been collected. We've achieved the good ending. And that, my friends, is basically 100%ing Azure Striker GUNVOLT.
Nice. That last fight was amazing. I can't find another word for that.
No, trust me, it has got an amazing remix of the intro stage theme, which I believe is Lightning Crashes or something like that. Look it up, feel free to. It is a great final fight theme. And Asimov is a bit of a fan favorite fight as well. Well, to some anyway. I know Ben-Ha prefers Nova over the design of Asimov's fight, but yeah. So, with that, GUNVOLT has officially walked into the sunset. Unfortunately, leaving no answer to his comrades Monica and Zeno on what the heck happened, and instead, now he's living a life of his own, with Jewel spiritually there, and that's basically GUNVOLT 1. I highly implore, though, that you guys check out the game for yourselves, because the mode that I used to speedrun GUNVOLT 1 was the original English version, which does not feature Japanese voices and also features the original translated script. The reason I use that is it's much faster in loading the game as compared to the Japanese voice version and also the pop-up messages during the stage. But that's one of the charming things about GUNVOLT, the story mode plus system that Inti Creates calls it. Definitely check it out. Like I said, this game is available for 3DS if you're able to find the Striker Pack cartridge. You can get it on Steam, then there's also the Striker Pack on Switch and PlayStation 4, and of course the standalone version on Xbox One. And if you would like to try the speedrun for yourself, there is a GUNVOLT speedrunning community where you can find the Discord link to that on the SRC leaderboards. We have a great community, as well as some top-notch runners like Ben-Ha, Deco. I know the wonderful Tina Hacks has done some runs of this game. We've also had Green Link and a Jarmar. I may be one of the more active speedrunners of the entire franchise in general, but it's still a great game to just show off because Inti Creates, they're one of my personal favorite developers. I just really heckin' like the GUNVOLT stuff. But with that in mind, if you guys would like to follow me, I am TempestMask1000 here on Twitch. I've got a YouTube channel under the same name. And I have a social media, Twitter. I'm not going to call it X. I will call it Twitter because that's exactly what it is. My handle is @It'sTempestSteve. And I post streaming updates if I decide or plan on doing one because I am not a frequent streamer. But thanks for Completithon for accepting this. Also, technically that's a PB, and the reason for that is because I normally run this on the PC version, but this was the first full recorded run that I've done on the Switch version, so no matter what, that's actually a PB.
Well, GG for that. Thank you, TempestMask, for this wonderful run. I really enjoyed it. I think Chat did as well. Now we will have a quick intermission, and after that we will have Funhouse with Mixmaster PJ. Don't go too far, we will be right back.
Ciao, amici. Oh, sorry about that, R30. It just, I don't know. I just feel a little bad. Oh.
what a run that was. I knew what was coming for me with Asia Strike GUNVOLT, but I was still blown away. I was still blown away seeing it. But yeah. Next up, we have Funhouse, as stated earlier, with a Mixmaster PJ. And after that, we have the fabled Fez with the fabled still open incentive. I'm sorry I'm talking about that so much, but we really do want to see that. So please, Twitch chat, if you have any amount of money to spare, please consider donating towards the wonderful charity Somos Familia Valle and allocating that money towards the incentive for the Sonic sprites in the game Fez, because I'm pretty sure everyone wants to see that. Fez is a wonderful little puzzle platformer. I haven't played it yet, but I've seen it played and it looks just so good. And maybe we can, bring a bit more speed into it with some Sonic characters, some Sonic sprites. I think that sounds like a wonderful idea, and if you agree with that, please get your donations in. There's still the donation link in the chat if you can see it. !donate into chat, and then you'll get it. But please, if you are able to spare $1 or $2, please consider donating. Thank you.
Giving up, letting go, times we might feel compelled, looking down from the heights that we have built all by ourselves. And there is fear of the unknown, but we cannot lose control when we feel like the world is against us. Do we go is a question to ask. There are so many choices that it's hard not to look past. What is real and what is fake, and the risk we have to take. Will we know what is throwing off our balance? We cannot sink into the dark. The vertigo is getting sharp. There's something bigger than ourselves.
If any one of you lovely people in chat would like to help with future events for Completithon, we always host volunteer applications before our events. They typically run alongside submissions and are announced on our Discord and Twitter. Keep an eye on those if you're interested in running production, tweeting the tweets, or maybe even hosting live on the mic, like I am right now. Even if you're just looking to volunteer for the first time, we would be happy to help you get your foot in the door. Let me also update you on our wonderful bid wars. We don't only have the Fairs incentive. We also have some bid wars that you can put your money towards. In addition to the Fairs incentive, just so you know, right? So for tomorrow, we have a Pokemon puzzle challenge where you can select the Pokemon whose voice you will hear throughout the run. Will it be Totodile, Cyndaquil, Marill, or Pikachu? Pikachu is currently in the lead with $5, the others are still sitting at 0. A single donation of $6 or above can get your Pokemon in the lead. If you want someone else than Pikachu, or you can put your money towards Pikachu so that it gets a further lead. We also have for the Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu versus Pokemon Let's Go Eevee race, you can donate towards the trainer name, starter name, and for the Eevee version, the Starmie name. We have a 12 character maximum. Please put your name choice in the donation comment, because otherwise we can't track it. And then your name is in the running to be used in that race. So there's a lot of good stuff that you can donate towards, and don't forget, all donations go towards a wonderful charity. So please, if you have something to give, please donate. It goes to a wonderful cause.